Hi, my name's Jordan Kendall, and I'm a senior here at UAS, and I'm in the art program, as you might have heard. So I was born here in Juneau, Alaska, and I also grew up here. Growing up here, as some of you might know, is pretty unique in its isolated area. I tried to take advantage of the natural surroundings. Growing up, I lived downtown, and so the woods were pretty close by. I spent a lot of time outside, playing in the woods, using my imagination. I was an only child, so I spent a lot of my time using my imagination. I was introduced to Sculpey and clay when I was maybe 5 years old, and that was just an amazing thing for me at the time. It almost was a replacement for toys, really. I found it so rewarding to be able to see my ideas manifest in clay and be able to create things that I just always analyzed toys and things after that for how they're made and their aesthetics, and it just really influenced what I was doing with clay. Around the time I was about 7 or so, my parents got divorced and my dad went to prison, and that was really detrimental to me as a kid. It really had a lot of effect on my thoughts and how I just dealt with childhood. So my mom put me into counseling, and being in counseling, I was influenced to draw and to interpret my feelings that way. So I spent a lot more time drawing and making things after that, and it was really an escape to this imaginary world where I just kind of was able to go with fantasy concepts, and it just really influenced me from that point on. Also, being around all sorts of imagery growing up, like records, I found my dad's records, and these big, loud covers just really spoke to me, and it made me discover the music as well. So I spent a lot of time just looking at records and all sorts of imagery that was around. Also, just pop culture, seeing these horror comics. I was drawn to this angry, violent ideas, and I just kind of liked this dark side to life and the way that it was interpreted in many of these horror films and things. Also, video games too. I like these creatures and these things in horror movies and that, and it just really had an eye-catching appearance to it, and it really influenced me as a kid what I was making and what I was doing with clay or drawing. So around 5th grade, I had some pretty extreme drawings, pretty extreme, violent drawings. And looking back now, it's funny to me, but I don't know exactly what I was thinking at the time. Around that same time, I had the opportunity to be in a really awesome classroom with Diane Anderson, a local artist here, as our art teacher, and she presented a really insightful way of teaching art that I hadn't really been around before, and her projects were just all her own, and it really relates to Diane as a person, but it was new to me seeing art that presented this way. It was so much more serious than what we had been shown before, and I really accepted it that way and wanted to do so much more with it. Also, being around my mother, who really pushed art at me, she had a frame shop downstairs in our house, so I was able to see a lot of stuff coming in and out all the time, and really enjoyed just being able to see that influx of new ideas and stuff that other people were making. As I got a little bit older, I was in sculpture in school, and I really enjoyed this new take on sculpture. It was larger. I was using a different clay body, and so having the opportunity to spend my high school years playing with clay influenced me to want to do that more in college. And so once I got to college, I really wanted to get into using clay and be able to make other things and take it to a different level and see new perspectives. Around high school, I got really into skateboarding, and it kind of embodied this angry rebelliousness of this kind of childhood that I was embracing at the time. And with skateboarding, it focused so much on the media aspect of it, of seeing videos, and that's where you're seeing the skateboarding in magazines, and it had so much eye-catching like colors and the designs to it, the way that ads were presented and the videos were done just really drew me in, and emulating that, I wanted to film and take pictures too and document that process and what I was doing with it. And so I started filming a lot at that time and taking more pictures too, and that just influenced me to take it further I started spending a lot more time at the skate park here, which was like this playground. It just, it presented itself in this open area. In Juneau, at least, it was covered, so I could go there almost as much as I wanted. And there wasn't really supervision. There wasn't these rules adhered to it. And so there's this sense of creative freedom that I really felt that I wanted to embrace. And so I spent a lot of time there. And eventually it led into working there. And I was able to get paid to paint there. And I was also taking classes here in painting, so I merged those two together and was able to basically learn painting that way. And being able to do that, I felt like it pushed me to take painting further and do more and more with it. And this is my first painting on a canvas at the time, which felt so much different, and that was kind of why I wanted to take painting to somewhere else, is that I didn't feel as excited about sitting in a classroom painting as I did seeing things outside on a larger scale. It just had so much vibrancy and excitement to it. I was also taking sculpture, and I really enjoyed seeing a different teacher's perspective on it and other people's perspectives, and that was a big part of just college in general, is hearing other people's perspectives and what they have to say about art and how they personalize it and take it in. And being around that environment really encouraged my ideas and how I was being shaped. Also taking drawing classes here and just keeping a book, steadily drawing and making things made me want to draw more, and being able to look back at what I had done, this documentation of this time that I'd spent doing this and how much it really meant to me. It became more and more apparent what it was and how I felt about it and what I wanted to do with it in the future. And seeing how drawing was, I felt like it had such a large spread, as in painting and graphic design, that it could just really be put on more than just a canvas or a panel. It was so versatile. It could be presented in so many different ways, and so I wanted to try more things with that and try to take it further and really experiment and make it a learning process. Also, going on vacations or any trip, I found myself seeking out art, going to museums and galleries, and just on the streets I was just so drawn in, especially California. There's just so much street art out there and graffiti art that it just had all these colors and all these things that reflected upon what I enjoyed about childhood, the things that I liked then. And I found myself just really drawing back to that childhood experience of what I found aesthetically pleasing then. Also, around the time that I'm taking painting classes in college, I discovered that I wanted to paint larger, and so painting at the skate park was great, but also I had spent a lot of time as a kid in the woods and over in Douglas in these abandoned mines and buildings, and there was something so familiar about that I wanted to paint other abandoned places and on other large pieces. So continuing painting at the skate park this whole time too, just trying to make it a whole learning experience, really, of what I would take something away from one piece and then decide what I wanted to change about doing something to another. So as a kid, I also, I guess, practiced automatism, which I later learned the whole definition of it. But really, it was kind of drawing from the subconscious, and I think I took that away from these counseling sessions as a kid, and just being in that moment and seeing what your subconscious can really manifest. And I liked the patterns and in the moment of it, and I wanted to be able to try to bring that back to what I was doing in school and what I was doing in painting and art. So just practicing that again really kind of brought me back to childhood even more. I'm practicing graffiti art and the lettering and the way that things were really broken down to more simplistic designs and colors and shapes, and that you could get so much more of a punchline out of something that could be so simplistic. I just found that really pretty amazing. Taking history and art history classes, I felt like I just really delved into the lives of other artists and what they were doing and how they viewed art. I really felt like that I took a lot in from that, and people like Salvador Dali, I really I really felt like I could relate to his surrealist ideas and the way that his artwork just really stood out. Otto Dix was another person that I think was quite amazing in his war experiences in the way that it really changed his perception of people, and that you can see that in the way that he paints people, that he definitely is almost like a character drawing, that he brings out these interesting aspects of people's personalities. Also, just researching many different graffiti artists and seeing the different styles and the ways that these things can come out, just muraling and these like sharp popping colors, I felt like that embodied a lot of the graphic design that I was so drawn to as a kid as well. Greg Simpkins was another artist too that I felt he had really interesting graffiti as well as his surreal paintings too. They were just so in depth and there was so much going on, and him as a person I felt like I related to with his take on doing things from much of his subconscious and trying to interpret the things around him in a very different way. Around my last few years of college, I had a kid, and that was an amazing life-changing experience. And it meant something totally different for college, where I had to slow down and take things in a little bit more slower. So I was concentrating more on each class, and at the same time, I wanted to get back to the whole documentation of what I was doing in life. It just it made me want to document my child and what I was doing and what I was painting and just everything around me. So I finally got a digital camera again, influenced by Ryan Cortez. So taking pictures with a digital camera has its rewards. It's such instant gratification. You can change things so quickly. But as a child, I spent so much time looking at my grandparents' photo albums and seeing these older styles of technology that I really liked that human touch to it, and it seemed like there was so much more satisfaction in something that you had to anticipate and prepare for, that I was really drawn to film and trying to have this older style to the photography that I was taking. And so I got more into film photography, and I really feel that now I wanted to do more with this. And in the future as well, I see myself doing so much more with film photography. And with her, my child, I want to just spend much more time with her in the future, painting and teaching the things that I valued growing up, that I spent a lot of time doing, and I felt like I got a lot of reward from. And working in the school district the past couple of years has made me think the same thing, that it reiterates why I would like to become a teacher, that the things that I struggled with as a kid and the way that I interpreted art and my surroundings, I would like to be able to give back that same thing to kids, because I think that it really relates to my childhood, the things that I would see in the schools, and that in long term that I think that they would benefit from that too. So in my future, I'm just going to try to continue going to school and eventually become a teacher and try to just put all I can really into that.